Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it Your Neighbors Need Not Be Quiet. It's actually a question somebody asked me, and I'll read to you also my answer in writing, of course, and then we'll elaborate a bit. And the question is, Hi Nick, I have had bad experiences with neighbors that seems to keep repeating themselves almost magically. The experience keep repeating themselves almost magically. I am a bit traumatized now by the thought of it happening again. It's about noise, respect, and getting enough sleep. I am not really asking for much, but life clearly puts me in the same situation over and over. It doesn't matter where I go. My question is, how can I approach this? I need to sleep. I get up quite early for work. I've already considered that maybe it is a test from life, but honestly, I'm not sure what it wants from me with this issue. Thanks. Okay, here's what I offer as an answer. I said, your mind tells you that if the world were silent, you could sleep. And holding on to that thought that the world would have to be silent for you to sleep is what prevents you from seeing that you can sleep under any circumstances. When I was involved in the self-help world, I had convinced myself that thoughts and external noises, especially at night, reside in the unconscious, and my life would be filled with negativity. Then life placed me in a situation where I was living in the home of someone who watched television until 3 o'clock in the morning, filled with excessively negative programming. When the belief that nothing can be harbored in the unconscious was eradicated, as if by magic, I could sleep without any problem. That discomfort you feel internally continues to project itself indefinitely. This does not mean that you cannot talk to your neighbors and share your situation with them. But if you do, you do it without expectations, trusting that if they continue making noise, it is because that's how life wants it, so you can become aware that the neighbors are not the cause of your discomfort. If your neighbors were the cause of your discomfort, you would be at their mercy for the rest of your life. However, life is inviting you to realize that you are free right now. Now, we have to remember that the world is as it is, and the question is, who am I? You continue speaking to me from your position as a separate individual, and that's why all problems have to do with you, I, me, mine, etc. In the world of appearances, there are no solutions. Only one scenario after another. Some appears to be problems and some appears as solutions. But remembering who you are by placing everything in the hands of peace, in absolute acceptance of what is, that underlying traumatic thought that you don't want it to happen again falls away. And don't be surprised if that reflects in your experience. The only difference is that whether the neighbors make noise or stop, it doesn't matter to you. Okay? I remember, that story. I think I've said it before in a video where I used to have this strong belief that, the unconscious absorbed negativity and all that kind of stuff. And of course, I was panicking all the time because even the slightest noise at night, I would even call the police on a neighbor if I feel they're watching the news, even if it wasn't that loud, but because I had a strong belief, right? Well, then one day life presented me in a situation where I didn't have where to go, and an old friend called me. He says, Nick, I am going to be on, he was a stand-up comedian, still is, of course, and he had a son who was dealing with schizophrenia, and he didn't want to leave his son alone. So he asked me if I could stay at this house, and of course, I didn't know where to go because I didn't have any money to pay for rent or anything like that. So bottom line is the opportunity presented itself for me to be able to have a place to live for a while as I was getting myself back on my feet. Long story short, well, that friend of mine, he watches television until God, 3, 4 in the morning, because he was on the road as a comedian. But when he comes back, until 2, 3 in the morning, and the television was right behind the wall of the bedroom where I was staying at. So technically, there was a very thin wall, so I wasn't making any kind of it wasn't shielding the noise or anything. It was just right there. And I'm talking that the television shows he watches was pure blood and violence. I'm telling you, to the next level, right? Interestingly enough, because I had no other choice, what am I going to tell him? Not to watch television or whatever? I really didn't have anywhere to go there. But I realized that, you know what? At that time, I was already now conscious that all these unconscious beliefs and everything were pretty much fading away. When I became a student of A Course in Miracles, I began to realize that, all that stuff was just basically mind projections and has nothing to do with the reality of who I am. Interestingly enough, I could go to bed and I sleep like a baby, like nothing ever happened. You see? So in this particular scenario, you see the same thing. The individual is still talking about his sense of me. Look what is happening to me, as if the noises and everything comes from outside. But in reality, the world of appearances is a mirror, is a reflection of my inner being. When I am peace, when I'm resting in that peace, even in the midst of noise, I can perceive, I can sense peace no matter what. Because now the noise is just basically, it's like in a movie theater, you're watching the movie, but if you know that it's a movie, then the images and the noise has no effect on your tranquility as you're sitting in a chair watching the movie. But if you forget that it's a movie and you believe that you're part of it, then you're reacting to the sounds, panicking and everything, because you really feel you are in danger. But when you know who you are, then life unfolds, noise happens, and if there's something you can do about it, that's what I said to him. You can talk to your neighbors. That's a possibility. That doesn't guarantee anything, however, but that's a possibility. I'll give you another example. I have a very good friend. She has this place in the outskirts of Madrid, and she was going to put the place for renting, I think it's Airbnb or something like that, because she was moving to another location. And the place is quiet, and she put it in there. It's a very quiet place and a beautiful place, quiet out in the woods and everything, in a secluded neighborhood, right? But that neighborhood has all the houses one next to the other one. And that same week, she placed the ad, beautiful, quiet place. A family moved next door that they were noisy as you could not possibly believe. They were really, really, really noisy. It was unbelievable, to the point that even some people who would find themselves renting that place, they would ask to move out, because that's how incredible noisy this family was. And so my friend was shaken by that. You can imagine, until finally, and she even talked to them and they claim, no, it's okay. But in reality, that's not the case. It just like comes from here, it goes out the other ear. So finally, she surrendered to it and says, God, I surrendered it to you because I don't know what to do. And she just let it be. Well, long story short, they kept making noise, but my friend was okay with that. And the neighborhood, actually, they all got together, realizing that this family was disturbing the peace, and that took care of itself. She didn't have to do anything. Like, practically speaking, they were kicked out of that particular house. But you see, it was not because she fought for it, It was just because she finally surrendered and she accepted it. And that acceptance is what allows her to be at peace with herself, you see? And then if the neighbors were supposed to be there, they would have been there. But I guess life worked itself out in such a way that once you are at peace with what is, you can even see how the world of appearances begins to reflect that. Once again, just to make sure that we don't confuse here, you're not trying to be at peace to try to manipulate the world of appearances. This is not what we're talking about. You remember who you are, total acceptance of what is I am, resting in the I am, and then you see that life is you, you are life, and everything is an expression of you. And as the inner peace begins to reside in you, that is also reflected, or you could say the world of appearances reflect that in whichever way serves your situation or the situation of this person. First thing is getting to know that I am. That's what these videos are about. It's not about solving issues, not about solving problems. It's about knowing what I am. Because this world, as I said in the writing, this world, there's no solutions to any problems. All that there is one scenario after the other one. You judge the scenario, you find yourself experiencing the consequence of that judgment. You see? So if you ask me if I have problems, my answer is all I have are experiences. And if I don't label them problems, that's just another experience. And another experience may show up that in the world of appearances may seem to be the solution of that problem, but I don't see problems and solutions. I see life unfolding. Life unfolds, experiences take place. I am, I rest in the I am. This is what these videos are pointing to. That's about it. You see, that's why I reiterate, I share with the person that first of all, you're talking about yourself as an individual. This is what's happening to me, and I am pointing back to the fact that you are. And even I did give a couple of suggestions. Hey, you may want to talk to the neighbors, see what happens. But if you go talk to the neighbors hoping that they will listen to you, once again you're putting yourself at the mercy of the experience. You see, when you know that you are, the world of appearances has no power over you. You see, but when you forget who you are, the world of appearances seem to be having power over you, when in reality it's your own power giving it away. In other words, if you're sleeping and you're dreaming, even when the dream seems to be chaotic, in the end, the chaos in the dream is not happening in the dream, it's happening in your mind. Your mind, your chaotic mind, projects a chaotic dream. A peaceful mind, you could say, that is in a position to project a peaceful dream. You see? So, whatever seems to be happening, whatever the world of appearances may be showing, always remember, I am. You rest in I am. This is all these videos are about. It's very simple. And this I amness is the peace that surpasses all understanding. And then you cannot help but to see a peaceful world. And well, this is inspiration that came through. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can become evident.